Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Sox Machine podcast, part of the Foul Territory Network. I'm your host, Josh Nelson, and in this episode, you're going to hear from a lot of White Sox personnel as we will be recapping what happened between the White Sox and Guardians, a huge series in the American League Central. James Fegan and Jim Margulis will join me in an upcoming episode of the Sox Machine podcast, but we did so many interviews and we have so much video from Chris Getz, Will Venable, Colson Montgomery, Munetaka Murakami, White Sox pitching coach Zach Bove. We even have Mark Buehrle also doing a quick interview with us about all the festivities that happened this weekend, with, of course, Ozzie Guillen having his number 13 retired and joining like Mark Buehrle and Paul Konerko from the 2005 World Championship squad up in the rafters. I also want to give a quick shout out to everyone that joined us this weekend for Sox Machine's 20th anniversary. Pretty special moment for us. We had our Veterans Committee members, which that is one of the tiers if you are a Sox Machine subscriber. We always have a sweet night every year, so that was a lot of fun. That was on Friday night, which unfortunately White Sox didn't win. And of course, hilarity ensued as Ja Rule canceled his concert. And then on Saturday, so many of you stopped by in Lot E as we had our tailgate as well. So we had the hot dogs and Polish sausages, and we had the Sox Machine cupcakes as well. So it meant a lot to us for everyone that said thank you and congratulations as we celebrated our 20th anniversary this weekend. Of course, on Saturday, the day belonged to Ozzie Guillen, having his number 13 retired and joining in the rafters at Rate Field. And for Ozzie, the 1985 American League Rookie of the Year, but of course, most well known for being the Chicago White Sox manager when they won the World Series in 2005. A packed stadium. It was a very emotional speech. You can easily tell this honor meant a lot to Ozzie, and to seeing so many former players and White Sox personnel being seated on the field while Ozzie was giving his speech. It was a great moment for Ozzie and the Chicago White Sox. Ozzie was asked about what was his biggest thrill of receiving this honor, and Ozzie Guillen said, quote, "To me, the biggest thrill when I see the number, the name out there, is what it means to my grandkids. To walk this field and see that last name up there, that's the biggest thrill." We also got a chance to hear from Chris Getz, former player under Ozzie Guillen, his first manager, and of course, Mark Buehrle, 2005 world champion, what it was like to play under Ozzie Guillen.
I think he was nervous. I think he was a little more emotional when he came over. He's like, I didn't get emotional. We're like, yeah, there's a few times he had a little bit going, but yeah, I don't know if he got nervous during baseball stuff, but I think he was a little more nervous for that.
He's given so much of his career, his playing career, coaching career, broadcasting career, half his life he's been with the White Sox. How much do you think this means to him?
I think it means a lot. I mean, you can see, obviously, talking about it. I mean, he's a family guy. He spent a lot of time talking about his family. He loves family guys. The kids on the team. He brings everybody together. So I think it meant a lot for him.
In my office, and I've got it at home. My first opening day, he was hitting second. They call everyone out to the line, and I've got a picture of he's acknowledging me. We're giving each other knuckles, and. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone reflects back on the first manager that they've ever had, and in my case, a memorable one for a lot of different reasons. He's had a storied playing career and managing. I still believe that in terms of instincts for the game, one of the best I've been around, if not the best. I mean, it's really special, and also one of the funniest. People that I've ever been around as well. He was always very supportive of me when I was in the minor leagues to be the big leaguer, and even when I was playing with other clubs as well. I always look forward to interacting with him. It's really cool to see so many people coming, not only our fans on tomorrow for his special day, but players that have played for him, friends of his. He's obviously got a special place in their hearts, and he does in mine.
Been like a 5-second speech, but I think just reiterate what AJ and PK said. With my biggest thing is how big of a family guy he was. Like, that's honestly probably 75-80% why we went to Miami because he was the manager, is because of knowing how much he liked kids. Like, it didn't matter if you win or lose a game, the kids were allowed in the clubhouse. You know, I said, it ain't the kids' fault you went 0-4. Don't yell at them. And obviously, having kids growing up at that time, I loved it. And it was like he is the biggest family guy known to man. So that's one thing I gotta say was awesome about him.
Do Brooklyn and Braden remember how much he was involved with them? I remember coming to the clubhouse a couple times on the road, and there was Braden with Ozzie walking.
I think they remember the Gatorade cup full of Swedish fish that he'd always give them and M&Ms at 10:30 at night whenever they're walking out with a cup full of candy, and Mom's like, it's probably not the best idea. But I think over the last few years of being up here, I don't think when I was playing, I don't know, I'm not sure if they really remember much of that, but I think it's more of the last couple years we've been up here.
Do you have certain memories specifically about Ozzie that you can tell us that you haven't told before?
Yeah, I don't know if I can tell. Like AJ said, how do we talk about Ozzie and tell the truth, but kind of keep it PG? No, like I said, I just think it's mostly the family thing, and that's what I took to heart because I'm a family guy. And like when I went to Toronto, it was like my family wasn't there, and every time I opened my apartment door and they weren't there, I'm like, what am I doing? I feel like a college kid. I should have my family here, and they can't be. So just the whole family aspect of it, how big of a family guy he was. And yeah, I mean, he cared about baseball and performing well, but it was family first. How's the family doing? And then, are you doing okay? Or you want to go longer? Like, kind of stuff like that.
Not everybody loves people who tell the truth unvarnished. Why do people love? Why? What made Ozzie? What made Ozzie? People like him even though he told the truth.
I think that's why. Like, I mean, he literally told you what he was expecting out of you or what he thought of you, whether it was good or bad. You might not want to hear it, but his door was always open. You could walk in at any time. You might not want to hear what he's going to tell you, but he's going to tell you the truth.
I can't tell any of those stories. Yeah. Now I've got a lot of those stories. I don't know if I'm comfortable sharing those, but I've got a lot of stories I love telling people. I just don't think I need to make them public. There was one story I can say that was it's not with my daughter when she was young, but she walked out of the clubhouse crying, bawling her eyes off. And Ozzie came out right behind her and he said, I think she just saw a rebate naked. And that's why she was crying. So that's the Ozzie story. And there's, 8 million like that and least of the ones that you can actually talk about.
You have to appreciate the bluntness from Mark Buehrle. But congratulations again to Ozzie Guillen and his family for his jersey retirement. And we'll see who will be the next number to be retired by the Chicago White Sox. Maybe Jose Abreu. That could be a stretch. He did win Rookie of the Year and MVP. He probably has the best chance of the more recent former White Sox players to have his number retired, but it could be a while before we see anybody's number retired for the Chicago White Sox. We're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsors, but afterwards, check at the American League Central standings as the White Sox win a big series against the Cleveland Guardians and get those post-game and post-series reactions from manager Will Venable and Colson Montgomery. Plus, Hagan Smith makes his Major League debut, and we hear from Chicago White Sox pitching coach Zach Bove about the current pitching structure and what we could see in the very near future before this season ends for White Sox pitchers. Next on the Sox Machine podcast.
I know this is a busy time of year for many of you, including AJ. When you're home, you need everything to get done fast with quality.
Absolutely. That's why Factor meals are perfect for me. Ready in 2 minutes, healthy, pre-made, protein, all the things I like, vegetables, they're all mixed into one, and it's quick, easy, cleanup, done, boom, I'm full, move on to the next task.
No prep, no cleanup. Every week you'll find over 100 nutrient-dense menu items to choose from and new options like salmon burgers, shredded pork, and much more. Plus, add-ons you'll crave like pumpkin-flavored cheesecake and protein shakes. Let's eat real. Head to factormeals.com/FAL50OFF and use code FAL50OFF to get 50% off and one free breakfast item per box for 1 year while supplies last until 10/31/26. That's code FAL50OFF at factormeals.com. FAL50OFF, factormeals.com. See website for more details.
I'm with Chicago shortstop Colson Montgomery. You're known as team first.
Yeah, I've always worked hard for the team rather than myself.
I get it. If you've been injured, my team is here to help. Call 312-6-million. Injury law made personal. That's Hagan Law.
Welcome back to the Sox Machine podcast as we recap what happened between the Guardians and the White Sox this weekend. In game one, really weird start as Noah Schultz didn't even get out of the first inning because, well, documented, and we wrote about it on SoxMachine.com, Will Venable made the mistake in the first inning of a second mound visit that required him to replace Noah Schultz with David Sandlin, as the Guardians did end up winning that game in a big manner, 8-2, as they hit a grand slam off David Sandlin. Sandlin did the best that he could in those extreme circumstances, but the White Sox did respond quite nicely on Saturday and on Sunday, as in game two, the White Sox were down 2-0 as they finally got to Gavin Williams and Cleveland's bullpen to pull together a rally. Munetaka Murakami sparked that rally with a home run as the White Sox ended up winning 6-3. And then on Sunday, a long rain delay as the White Sox and Guardians entered a rain delay in the top of the second inning. Again, the White Sox had to burn another starting pitcher. Davis Martin only lasted an inning, but thanks to a big home run from Colson Montgomery, the White Sox beat the Cleveland Guardians 5-3. And now when you take a look at the American League Central standings, a lot of adjustments here. Great weekend for the White Sox. They extend their lead in the division. They are 61-56. They have already won more games than they did last year. So that's always that's a great sign. The Detroit Tigers are now in second place with a 58-60 record. They're 3.5 games behind the White Sox. Meanwhile, the Guardians drop to fourth place as they do not have the tiebreaker against the Minnesota Twins. Both teams are 58-61. They are 4 games back. The Kansas City Royals are 49-70. They are 13 games back. Here is the post-series interviews from White Sox manager Will Venable, Munetaka Murakami, and Colson Montgomery.
Last season's win total. What are your thoughts, if anything, on that?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it signals progress for us. Obviously, we have a long way to go here, but certainly happy about where we're at now, knowing that, we've gone through some stuff here and have continued to push through and just get better and better. And obviously, getting our 61st win today and surpassing last year is evidence of that.
17 walks in total, I think, between the teams. Do you think like slickness or the muddiness of the mound contributed at all, or just kind of a wacky game?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't have any explanation for that. It's just one of those games.
でも今日勝つことがすごく大事だと思いますし、また3連戦の中の初戦取られてしまったんですけど、そこで連敗してしまうとまた流れもあんまり良くないと思うので、今日こうして勝てたので、また明日につながるかなと思います。
It's obviously a very important series, so I'm really glad that we got to win this one. We were in a bad losing streak right here, so it's good to reset and then come back today with a win.
You've been one of the most successful hitters in the league against high velocity. You hit 100 miles an hour today. But what do you feel like has made you successful against the hardest fastballs in the league?
このリーグの球速が速いピッチャーに対してすごくいい結果を残されたと思うんですけど、それについてはどう思いますか？
自分の中ではあんまり特別こうとは思ってないので、しっかり来た球に対して対応できていることが一番すごくいいことかなと思います。
I don't really think it's something that needs special, to be honest. Some balls that are coming to me, I'm able to react on it on time and just go through all the same routines every single time.
Lead in the division. Can you just talk about the importance of today's win?
I mean, I think our whole stretch, however many game stretch it was, with Tampa, with Boston and stuff, Boston, that's one of those situations where you kind of just like, all right, well, we'll see you in, postseason, we'll see you later, kind of take those blows and, kind of take a step back and see what we did good and see what we didn't. But, I don't know, I think, it's always good, play against, division, teams. It's playoff experience, especially last night, we were down, their guy was dealing, but it was just, one of those things that we've shown, throughout the years is that we're not going to back down. We're going to try and find a way to win.
Especially Colson Montgomery's.
Yeah, big swing by Colson. I think, he needed that. It's been a tough stretch for him here over the last little bit, but that's what he's got in there. You know that he's dangerous every time he's out there. Obviously, that was a really big swing for us, and it was a difference in the game.
Don't you talk about just focusing on the process, and is that what you try to do when you go through these stretches that aren't perfect?
Yeah, I mean, you got to be willing to take a step back and kind of, self-evaluate what you need to do and like what you are doing. So, the past 2 days or whatever, I don't know however long it's been, but kind of just took a step back, talked to Joel, talked to the show. We're like, okay, let's look at, success, it leaves, clues. So let's just go out there and let's check it out. Let's look and see what it is. And it really wasn't anything too crazy. It was just kind of getting myself, up early, ready to, kind of let myself, let my swing and my body develop and then just be committed to fastball.
Is there a relief though to get that home run at that point?
I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, more of just it helped the team. It was able to, put us up and put us ahead, especially after a long, rain delay. You never know how teams can come out, after a rain delay. But I think it was kind of a statement. We came out of the delay, and was it right out of the delay we put up 4 runs? Something like that. Yeah, something like that. So, I don't know. I thought that said a lot about us.
On Sunday, because of the rain delay, and Davis Martin only lasted an inning because he just ended up being burnt out. Couldn't restart him. So because against a very heavy left-handed hitting lineup from the Cleveland Guardians, White Sox manager Will Venable decided to make Sunday Hagan Smith's Major League Baseball debut. And what a unique spot for Smith to make his MLB debut. And in very Hagan Smith way, if you've been paying attention to how he's been throwing in the minor leagues, Hagan Smith did throw 2 scoreless innings. Cleveland didn't register a hit against him, but he walked 4 batters. He did strike out 3, and he did this all on 48 pitches. So again, a very Hagan Smith outing, but his MLB debut is in the books. He earned the win thanks to Colson Montgomery's big home run. Here's Will Venable explaining that decision, why he went to Hagan Smith, and then Hagan Smith talking about the experience of making his MLB debut.
Yeah, I mean, you have these plans to, get these young guys a nice soft landing spot, and, second inning after rain delay is not something that I don't think he's done before, and it's so challenging situation. And then as his outing unfolded and he was challenged there in his second inning with the bases loaded, it was a really good test for him, and obviously came through.
What made you pick him to replace Davis in the second?
Kind of the thought process was with their lineup being so left-handed that, a lefty was going to be the first out. Hagan was kind of the guy.
Yeah, it was definitely different. I didn't really know I was going in until about a few hours, like an hour in delay, and I was like, okay, sounds good to me. So it was just good from there.
What were you doing here in the clubhouse just to make sure you were ready during the delay?
I was kind of just waiting around, kind of seeing what time we were going to start. I was moving around a little bit in the weight room, just kind of stay loose and whatnot. And when we got the start time, went out there, played catch, and got on the mound.
You had 3 punch-outs in your first inning, but then, you got the bases loaded. Just how were you able to slow things down just to get out of that jam there?
Yeah, the first inning obviously was good, and then the second inning kind of fell off a little bit, but, glad we got the win, and that's all that really matters.
What did it feel like being out there for the first time and striking out Brian Rocchio, who's been a problem for the Sox too?
Yeah, it was really cool. Obviously, going out there, you just want to go out there and compete, and the results are what they are, and it turned out to be good.
Just reflecting on your journey, especially this season, just what does it mean just to have your debut and look back on what you did?
Yeah, it's awesome. You always dream this growing up, especially when you get drafted. You just look forward to the debut, and doing it was just really cool and a really special moment.
This game to get your first career win and your first appearance.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I got back in the clubhouse, so that was kind of cool.
Did they celebrate it with you? Did you go?
Yeah. Yep.
Any advice for Tanner?
Just go be him. He's really good, and just be himself out there, and he'll do great.
Who told you got the win?
I can't remember, honestly. I was just kind of sitting in here, and they're like, "Did you get the win?" I was like, "I don't know."
As he continues to work on the major league level.
Yeah, it's something that he'll always continue to work on. He's got such good stuff. If he's in the zone, he's going to be really hard to deal with. We saw that, and you understand with that stuff, as it's hard to control the movement, that there are going to be some walks in there. But as he continues to grow, you expect him to be able to tighten it up.
Coming up next on the Sox Machine podcast, after a quick word from our sponsors, is Zach Bove, the Chicago White Sox pitching coach, as he talks about Grant Taylor as far as his usage and maybe future usage. Starting pitching is not out of the realm for Taylor going into next season? And also, what are the White Sox pitching plans to try to finish out the regular season and make their way to the postseason? Next on the Sox Machine podcast.
Science experiment for the 1 minute we have to tell you about why we love Quint's electrolytes, including watermelon salt, raspberry salt, and I'm holding a citrus salt. Just opened it. I'm going to pour some powder into my water, shake it up. And AJ, why do you love it?
I love Quince because after a long night out, a long day at the gym, a long walk in this Florida humidity, it tastes great and it gives me all the electrolytes I need. Why? Sugar-free, stevia-free, keto-approved, and tastes sweet because of that delicious fermented rice.
It does taste really good. I'm drinking it right now while we talk about it. It's also made in the USA, rigorously third-party tested. Give your body what it really needs to stay hydrated. Go to quince.com/foul for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/FOUL for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/foul. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Welcome back to the Sox Machine podcast. Here is the press conference with Chicago White Sox pitching coach Zach Bove, which he's going to start talking about Davis Martin. Again, we only saw an inning out of Davis Martin on Sunday, but in his last start, got beat up again, that time by the Boston Red Sox. And afterwards, there was a lot of talk about pitch tipping for Davis Martin. This conversation with Zach Bove covers many pitchers for the Chicago White Sox, so you'll be hearing the entirety of his pregame press conference. I think there's a lot to take away from what Zach Bove thinks about as far as the White Sox pitchers and the adjustments they're trying to make on the fly here to stay ahead of everybody in the American League Central and still shock the baseball world and making the postseason in 2026. So here's Chicago White Sox pitching coach Zach Bove.
That's the plan. We hope so. Yeah, it's definitely been a focus and stuff like that. So, I mean, something that we're going to be on top of, and, you know, we feel good going into the game.
Outside of the tipping pitches, what did you see from him in his last play?
Yeah, I think kind of similar trend. It's really the fastball command, right? When the fastball command is there, it's good. It kind of sets up everything. It gives them something they got to honor rather than just the spin. So, like, if we feel good about, like, the four seam specifically, if he's thrown into the good spots, then I think that helps his whole arsenal play out.
This is a very kind of basic thing, but is there fatigue involved with him too? It looks like he looks maybe a little different than he did early in the year.
Yeah, I think it's multiple factors. That's one of it, right? Some of it's like the delivery can, you know, again, the delivery's off, but is the delivery off because of the fatigue, the innings pitched, right? Generally, like, how the body's feeling, right? Everyone goes through, like, different stretches throughout the year. So, yeah, I don't think it's one specific thing, but it is a combination of different factors.
How do you help guys navigate that? Because he's not the only one that's pitching at this point.
Yeah, I think we're really cognizant of, like, the amount of throws in between starts, whether that's the sides, you know, even like the day afters and stuff like that. Obviously, like, the recovery. So it's just communicating with them, but, like, really just making sure it's, like, more quality rather than just quantity throws throughout the week.
Anthony Kay has been, you know, really steady since April at this point, probably in a way that gets under the radar. What's maybe something that he's done very consistently, kind of, you know, doesn't get recognized enough.
No, you're so right? And like, we've definitely had those conversations of where he was to where he is now. I think it's the changeup, number one, being able to land it, right? The guys have to respect that, which then makes that cutter, the four seam up and in to the righties, like, play up even more, and then be able to land the sweeper specifically. So if he's, like, landing the changeup in the sweeper, I think it, like, slows them down to make that, like, the four seam in the cutter play up even more.
What's it up to you about Luis Castillo's first outing, and what is it bring to the Cubs line?
Yeah, there's definitely some flashes there, like first couple innings, right? Like the fastballs, combo and the fastball is really good. And, like, honestly, you look at the line, it wasn't great, but a lot of weak contact, right? Obviously the homer got him and stuff like that, but, like, we felt good about it. He just had a good side session, and, like, obviously, like, we're excited to have him, you know, join the group.
Eric Fetty, when he was going in the bullpen, he was planning on being stretched out, and then he became kind of the in case of emergency break glass guy this week. I mean, how tough is that when especially since he was kind of finding a groove, he was finding a groove as a starter.
Yeah, no, it is tough. And, like, Fetty is a pro, and he understands the role, you know, like, it's got to be flexible. That was the conversation from day one. You know, obviously, you know, he provides the length, but, like, he's pitched in some short innings just because of where the pen's at. So, like, yeah, we're trying to, you know, keep Fetty as routine oriented as we can, but knowing, like, there's going to be some adjustments and have to, like, fill in wherever the game dictates.
What do the pitchers enjoy? Why do pitchers enjoy throwing to T-Robo? There seems to be a connection with them that seems visible, you now on the field.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about Drew that has kept him around?
Yeah, I think Drew is really understands what the pitcher does well, right? The message that we've preached from day one, and really like starts with that as the foundation. But also like Drew does his homework, right? Understands like the hitters and all that goes in it. It's like really easy to communicate with. So like I think guys just understand like, hey, he's going to lead with their strengths first, right? He's going to understand what the hitter maybe struggles with and kind of blends those two. I will say like Q has been, since he's been back, really good. The communication's been great. Q's locked in, so Q is definitely making positive strides in those areas as well.
Chris was kind of suggesting with Castillo that he could use off speed more a bit going forward, and obviously he used to have one of the best changeups in the game and throws it a bit less than he used to. Is that something that he can turn back to in a significant way mid-season?
No, for sure. Yeah, we've had those conversations with him. I think Louis on board with increasing the changeup. Obviously two lefties, but maybe an opportunity to throw it to the right-handed hitters too. I think part of it too is obviously Seattle is a really good organization, right? They develop pitching, but they're definitely slider heavy, right? So it's just like that, just naturally, like they push the slider more. So like understanding like where Louis at, how to get out hitters, I think the changeup you're going to definitely see an increased usage from.
Does that change the way like you kind of turn over a changeup if you're throwing sliders, all the time a little bit?
Yeah, it can affect like the shape of the changeup. Obviously, some mechanical factors that like we have kind of identified and stuff like that. So it's like all those shapes can have a multitude of effects on like the arsenal as a whole, the delivery as a whole.
A number of us watched Lucas Giolito come up, have like 5 or 6 really good starts, have a really rough first full year, and then take off for like 3 or 4 years. Is that something to remember when you watch Noah? Just an example of development isn't always linear. Sometimes you have a rough home run. That doesn't mean like he can't turn it around even this year.
No, it's so true. And like Noah, like if you just look back at the innings, like right, the injuries over the years, like this guy hasn't had like a full season. So obviously he's 23 years old. Obviously has been a top prospect. All that comes with it, but like he's still getting into his own. And you saw that up here, to your point, right? The flashes of this guy can be really good, and then maybe some inconsistencies. So like Noah's obviously a big part of our future, but like just use this time as a reset, work on some specific things, but also just get used to the grind of a season and 130, 140 innings.
Is this where this team is at, just pushing for the postseason? Did I get a sense of urgency maybe just to make some changes?
Yeah, I think it's part of that, right? It's part of like, hey, how can we win now? But knowing like we expect Noah to pitch quality innings for us like later in the year and hopefully into the playoffs. So like making sure he's in a good spot from the innings limit, like works on those things, and then again, like he's going to be a big part of us.
What is that you know about Hagan and Taylor?
Yeah, no, they've been obviously pitching really well down there. Obviously, like it's fresh, powerful arms coming out of the pen, so that's going to be good. Hagan's made some like slight changes coming off the IL and stuff like that with the cutter and the delivery. Like all that's in a good spot, and like hopefully we'll see them over the next couple of days.
When Noah was so good at the start of the year, what kind of, as you send him back to like kind of working some things mechanically, where are you seeing maybe drift from where he was that you like to see him get back to?
Yeah, I think it's specifically the slots got a little lower, a little scoopier, right, which then affects the four seam, doesn't have much ride. So like I think getting the slot a little bit more upright, a little bit taller in the setup affects the adds VV to the four seam and helps kind of the whole arsenal kind of play out in that like kind of east-west range.
I mean, he's comfortable as an east-west guy, but like, do you want like to have the four-seamer, to have the little depth on the breaking ball, to at least have that element of north-south when he wants to?
Yeah, because it just allows them to get above and below the barrel, right? Obviously, like everything's here, and we're going to definitely like play into that, but having something that goes above the barrel with the four-seam and below the barrel with the slider, curveball, adds another element to the mix.
We've asked a lot about him because your opening day starter. Is Shane Smith still kind of in the mix for you guys?
For sure, yeah, no, definitely communicate with Shane. We're pretty locked in, right? He's working through some things, right? There's some positives in there. It's just, I think, generally just getting more consistent, because obviously you guys saw last year how dominant he can be, and again, he's still part of the future for us for sure.
What have you picked up on Brazil?
Man, the sinker and the changeup are real. The guy like wants to pitch, he wants to post. He's very easygoing. I think he's gonna fit in great. But like we're gonna lean on the sinker and changeup for sure.
What kind of makes this changeup so special that it's taken off for him this way?
Yeah, I think he can like throw it to like good locations. It's got this like late action, right? I think the ability to like just combo both of those, like you maybe think like, oh, the sinker, changeup, kind of similar movement, but like able to like contrast that, I think is gonna be like, it has been good for him and continue to be good for him.
What does it say about Grant to
that multiple outing that he had the other night against Boston and then come on back last night.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great resource for us. I think what you see is like how Grant takes care of his body, how routine oriented, so he can do that, right? He can throw 2-ups, right? And then day off and come back in, and like obviously Velo was in a good spot, Shapes are in a good spot, so like credit to him of all the preparation that goes into it to be able to do this consistently throughout the year.
How rare is his curveball in terms of how much movement he can get on it while being as hard mid-80s as it is?
It's a unicorn pitch, right? And then I would layer on ability to like throw it in the zone too, right? He can dump that thing in 0-0, right? And he can get it below for the strike. So like guys have to honor that plus 98, 99. Like you got to pick one, and like obviously like a lot of guys are in between on him.
He was saying like sometimes he sets his target like at the top of the catcher's head because that's how much it drops to like get in the zone. Is that? Sure. Do you see like the way he's kind of able to calibrate to land in the strike zone?
Yeah, no, yeah, we talk a lot about starting points and lanes and stuff like that, and Grant's a perfect example of that. Sometimes you got to start that up, and like sometimes maybe it ends up, but then it's a take pitch too. So it's like definitely a good tunnel off the four seam.
Just his versatility on so many different roles. You told me he's really relied on like Sean Newcomb and Fetty. Is that something that you've witnessed, and what have you seen?
Yeah, no, I think like again, don't lose sight of how dominant he is, but he also is second year in the league, right? So it's like being able to lean on those guys that have been it, that understand the ups and downs, the routine in between pitches and in between outings, and how to stay consistent. Like those guys have been a great addition. And I think that's where Castillo will also come in for the starters too, right? Obviously young starters and just knowing how to navigate a season and playoffs and all that stuff.
You're obviously focused on winning the division, going to the playoffs, winning the World Series. In the future, could Grant still have starter potential, you think?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think it's just conversations that we had in the offseason, right? We've talked about, obviously, the innings are up there for a reliever, so it's definitely conversations we're going to have in the offseason for sure.
Sean Burke, I think, looks like your traditional like high four-seam, put your breaking balls out of it, but when you talk to him, he's really like loves like commanding his two-seamer, and he loves kind of like locating his fastball down. Like how have you? He seems like he's willing to expand his game in a way that has taken off for him.
For sure, yeah. I think like maybe historically he's known himself in the league as like a north-south guy, like four seams up and curveball, and those still part of his identity. But being able to add the cutter to the mix now, the sinker down away to lefties, the slider's been really good, right, to lefties and to righties. So it's like again, I think it goes along with like just giving the offense multiple problems to solve, throw to multiple different locations, right? It's tough to cover all those as a hitter.
That will do it for this episode of the Sox Machine podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Chicago White Sox pitching coach Zach Bove and all of the other interviews and sound bites and video that we got over the weekend. Again, a very festive weekend for the Chicago White Sox. Ozzie Guillen got his jersey retired. The White Sox won another series against the Cleveland Guardians. They still have the season series lead, 5 wins to 4 wins for Cleveland. They extended their lead in the American League Central. They now lead by 3.5 games in the division. This is starting to become very real for the Chicago White Sox, and we will be previewing their next series on the upcoming episode of the Sox Machine podcast, as James Fegan and Jim Margulis will join me to help me preview what to look forward as the Cincinnati Reds now visit the White Sox at Rate Field. And don't forget, if you have tickets for Tuesday night's game, that is the Pope Hat night. That is going to be a very popular game. So if you don't have tickets, go get tickets. It's going to be one of the biggest giveaways the Chicago White Sox will have for this upcoming season. But that will do it for this episode of the Sox Machine podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you want to listen to the show, you can listen to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, such as Spotify and Apple Music. But this is a video podcast now, so you can watch all of our videos and the shows on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Sox Machine. If you do watch our videos, please hit the subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. We've already passed 3,200 subscribers, so thank you so much to all of our new subscribers and our new follows as well on social media, which you can follow us on social media wherever you have social media platforms. We're at Sox Machine. You can follow James at JR Fegan. You can follow me at Sox Machine_Josh. And if you enjoy our work and want full access to all of our coverage of the Chicago White Sox and Major League Baseball, become a Sox Machine subscriber at soxmachine.com/products. As I mentioned at the beginning part of the show, we do have a Veterans Committee tier. Our VC members, every single season, we coordinate with them to have a sweet night at a White Sox game, and we also share upcoming plans. We're already starting to try to formulate game plans of what we're going to be doing for this upcoming postseason as far as our playoff coverage, and we really lean on our Veterans Committee members to give us excellent feedback and advice on what ways that we can cover the Chicago White Sox to make it more engaging and informative for all White Sox fans. So again, if you enjoy our work and you want to be part of that conversation, we still have some openings in our Ventures Committee. We don't accept everyone. There's a little bit of an interview process because, again, we do share some pretty sensitive information. But if you just want to help support Sox Machine and gain access to all of our coverage in the comment section as well, we still have our first month sale in which your first month is just 53 cents. Afterwards, it's $5 a month. Again, go to soxmachine.com/products and sign up today. The Sox Machine podcast is a production of soxmachine.com. You're for all things Chicago White Sox baseball and now part of the Foul Territory Network. I'm Josh Nelson. Thank you so much for watching and listening.